Now, for more than 8 years, Nigeria has been in a tough battle with Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast.
Now, the casualty figure on both sides, heavy, and property worth millions destroyed. Now, the federal government declared that it had technically defeated Boko Haram sometime in 2017. But their decision to budget $1 billion to fight the insurgents, the claim to have decimated, caused a major uproar in the polity, and it's still a subject of debate largely. I mean, you can be sure that in the early part of this year, that debate will continue.
Will continue,
yeah. Well, we have a security consultant joining us this morning.
Retired Colonel Hassan Stanlabo is here with us in the studio. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Same to you
Happy
guys.
New Year to
Nice
you.
to see you.
Happy New Year.
All right. We listened to, we watched the president broadcast yesterday, and he gave some, enumeration on areas that touched on security, apart from other things he mentioned. And he reiterated the fact that, yeah, Boko Haram, we are winning the war. And then he was talking about the hard stance against kidnapping and all of that. These are some of the security challenges we have and all of that. But Nigerians are still not very satisfied by the way what government is saying. We have technically defeated Boko Haram, and what goes on the streets every day in the northeast.
Yeah, thank you, Mike and Ngozi, once more. Thanks for having me again on your very credible platform. Yes, to an extent, I would say we have been able to delve a big blow on Boko Haram and what have you, but I think no one has said it is Uhuru yet. We must give that to the military and the presidency. Nobody has said, oh, it's over, can we just go back home? The fact is that I keep referring to the Boko Haram situation. I always relate it to the anthill analogy, so to speak. When you break down an anthill, you see the ants, just fanning out in different directions and things like that. We've been able to dislodge Boko Haram from most of its strongholds, both within and within the confines of, contiguous countries that are also in this battle with us. And you would agree with me that right now, like it is, the elements that are still alive and moving on or fanning out, from my own experience, are moving into unsuspecting areas or locations like Kanu, Abuja, Lagos, even Port Harcourt. Okay? And in all these locations, where could they be moving into? Yet on targets like the railway sector, aviation sector, five-star hotels, all these are areas that have not been touched yet. I know I'm not giving them some ideas, and things like that. We could go on. Shopping malls. Okay? Now, like a lot of people keep saying we should be proactive. I see a lot of strategizing going on within the military, okay, to take care of all this, because the line of thought is the same too, flowing in there too. The worst you can do is to assume that your enemy in any battle is not better than you, or you just assume you are better off than the enemy. The enemy is also a trained soldier, if not better trained than you. So you must be proactive at all moments and remain on your guards. I want to believe the re-strategizing some of us are seeing, some of us who are non-committed or non-committal professionals watching from a distance. The good signs we see around indicates that, look, I think we are re-strategizing.
But it seems like in the midst of this re-strategizing by the military, there's the redeployment of some lead soldiers, if I could put it that way, in the theater of war and all of that. In the midst of all of that going on, you had an increase in, terror attacks, soft targets and all of that. Did this redeployment or re-strategizing leave some kind of leeway to the terrorists to strike?
Let me say something that might be a little bit shocking to you. From my experience in battles as is, because I've taken part in a few too, Liberia, Sierra Leone and all the rest of. My sister, I must tell you, is a win some, lose some affairs.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, I don't want to stay here and behave as if I'm a Jesus Christ. Everything can be addressed. You receive blows and you give blows. Okay?
Like in a boxing ring?
Yes, my dear. But the most important thing is that you must always ensure that the blows you are giving are such that it brings down the enemy.
That's the question.
So you are looking at his COG.
That's the
giving
question.
you an upper hand.
The blow,
than
the blow that were
dealt.
I'm almost feeling like a boxer right now. The blows that were dealing the terrorists.
Yes, my dear.
How effective are these blows?
They are.
How impactful are they?
They are. I will tell you they are. And they are because we have superior weaponry. They are because we have air superiority, what we call in the military, air superiority. Okay? They have because, to a greater extent, even some of the equipment they have, they cannot move it within our territory. Look at the bombardment, the sorties of bombardments that will go on, that keeps going on from the air component. They don't have that advantage. Definitely we'll bring it down, we'll bring that aircraft down. Okay? So our blows have been so devastating, and that's why we've gotten to the level where we are. Mind you, my brother and sister, even the Western world described Boko Haram as one of the most dangerous terrorist group in contemporary times. And that's why even the Americans were asking Nigeria, how are you getting it right? How come? What are you doing that we are not doing in Afghanistan? The white man will come to you, tap knowledge, and go back, improve it beyond you. People came here and picked seedlings of palm kernels. Yeah. Today we are importing oil from them.
Unfortunately.
So that is it.
Yeah.
So that is to let you know the extent to which our military is being able to exert its authority over Boko Haram.
All right. At the end of last year, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria unveiled the fact that America is now ready to sell Super Tucano jets or fighter jets to Nigeria. Now, we know that, and they've given between now and 20th of February for payments to be made, and then the commencement of production. It seems it's going to take another 1 year before all of these things are delivered, before we begin to deal more blows to Boko Haram, or maybe even finally quench it. How impactful would the Super Tucano be? You are in there, so make us understand how important these aircraft are to the fight.
The Embraer Alpha 29 Tucano is a super machine. It is not just an attack machine. I enjoy calling it machine. It's not just an attack machine. It's a surveillance platform on its own. So it could even go on air without releasing a shot and do a good job in surveillance and instantly sending back messages to the base. It does not even have to come back to base before sending its messages. So it could do its surveillance, send back messages, receive direct orders, and do what it needs to do. It is an aircraft that comes with a complete package, be it training, be it maintenance, be it whatever, and it is highly of cost effectiveness to nations like us that have very low defense budgets.
Okay.
Okay, so it suits our requirements in the battlefield as much as possible. It's going to be of good use to us, even though, like you rightly said, it might be coming maybe in another year or so. But I think before the next 1 year, we should be able to receive it, because looking at when that promise was made and so on, and all along, even before the promise was made, the intent was already there, and they have commenced working at it, knowing that, look, it's an immediate necessity.
So while we wait for the delivery of the Embraer,
Alpha 29.
Alpha, I love the way you say it. While we wait for that, what should we be doing in the interim? You just mentioned training, and I was just wondering. I mean, this weaponry are quite sophisticated.
Yes.
What do we really have the requisite training for the men and women that would man this? Machines that you call them. Do we really have that right now in the Nigerian military?
My sister, well, I wish you had the insight I have. Okay. But all the same, I think the responsibility rests on me to be able to avail you information. Yes. The Air Force is highly capable. To an extent that we used to in my days as a cadet, the Air Force chaps, after a given level of training in the academy, leave to West Germany and so on for further training. Some of these trainings have now been even domesticated in the country. That is to let you know the level of manpower that we're already attaining in that area. I know before you domesticate such trainings, those who are giving you the training would really come on ground to certify and accredit you. Thank you. If we have attained such that to a greater extent, what we call conversion trainings now, a good number of them take place here. 80% of our conversion trainings take place here, even including combat. When you see aircrafts rolling in that forms and releasing their bombs, we do all that here.
So you would have no qualms. You would have no qualms with this $1 billion that government is asking for to fight the Boko Haram war.
I have no qualms with it, and I also don't blame those who are opposed to it. When you look at where they are coming from as Nigerians, a country where in the past when such monies are set aside for such purpose, it ends up as money for the boys and goes into the pockets of politicians. If I were to be in their shoes, I would ask the same questions. I am not asking such questions today because I look at the political leadership, or let me not say the political leadership because that will be spreading it too far. I look at my commander-in-chief. So I'm referring to one individual now. Not all those other. I look at the service chiefs.
That were retained.
That were retained.
Yeah.
And which I applaud. Seriously. Because frankly speaking, well, I'm not saying changing them would have been bad, but why change a winning team? Can we just move on a bit? Then before we show them the way out? And so on. When you look at the president, you look at the service chiefs, you agree with me that this money will go a long way in enhancing combat capacity, delivery in the field. Do you agree with me? Yeah. It will go a long way. Look at the platforms we have just discussed that will need to be acquired. Each of those Alpha 29 Tucano goes for about $50 million each. About $50 million, times that by 12, and see how much that gives you.
Okay. We
look at other platforms that will be required even by the land forces, and so on. Some of our tanks will really need to go shop for latest tanks. You know, tanks that have got all the requisite sensors. Tanks which, as you are approaching, can be reading the ground for you and tell you what is underneath. This modern warfare today is based on technology, my brother.
Yeah.
If you have the technology, you outwit the enemy.
That's great.
It's not a matter of your biceps.
Well, it's good to know all of that. But however, Nigerians are quite very concerned. Recently, a report a few days ago came that some insurgents attacked a military base in Yobe State. That was, we read the news yesterday. I think it happened about 2-3 days ago. And the audacity for insurgents to go towards a military base, attack it, and succeed is still a source of concern to a lot of Nigerians. Because I understand they came in their numbers. In fact, the local government officials in is it Yusufari, local government area of Yobe State, said they came in their numbers. They came in about 15 vehicles and all of that. At this time, that the government is at this top, the military at the top of the game and so on. Nigerians are really concerned. How will that happen right now that with the picture you've painted for us, you know, the military is at the top of their game and all of that?
It's disturbing to me the way it is to a good number of other professionals too out there. The fact is that, and I must be frank with you, Mike, I think information isn't flowing. You will agree with me, the military cannot be on every spot in a given area. These guys assembled somewhere. These guys moved in their vehicles somewhere. We had a civil populace watching what was happening. How much of attempts were made to forward information to the military base next to you, however far it was. Without enough or adequate information which gets crystallized into intelligence, the military can achieve just little on ground.
So it's a very, very vital component
it is very,
of
very
the war.
vital. And we have now reached a level in this war, which is the terror phase, which, of course, is intelligence-driven.
Have we gotten to the point, or should we be getting very quickly to that point where we begin to think not just about importing or buying military hardware from US, UK, from wherever, and we begin to actually take advantage of what Nigeria can do? We have examples of Obunigwe, for example, which means the capacity, if we really do something, it can actually be there for us to build our own military hardware. Would that be the real achievement that you want to see?
I like that line of thought. Frankly speaking, right from my days as a junior officer, I kept saying this. We lost out on our opportunity to become what I'll call a defense giant within the continent, when immediately after the Civil War, we didn't gather these Igbo chaps, our own brothers, who were into all what Ngozi has just mentioned. Ojukwu Bomba, this and Igwinokwe. Gather them. If our brothers on the Biafran side could go through this war relying on their own internal technology abilities or technological abilities, they are Nigerians.
Yes.
So why not bring them? Get them, confine them somewhere, give them what they need, build schools for their children, and tell them, look, we are relying on you to build this, the defense sector. Give them what they need. By now, Pakistan started at about the same time. Today, we import artillery pieces from Pakistan, when we could have all been on the same level with Pakistan when it comes to artillery. Okay. Because we talk of the Igbo that's artillery weapons. Today, we could have been on the same level. In fact, we could have been exporting to other countries. And issues like all this 1 billion defense additional funding to the military and so on, there wouldn't be so much noise, because even within the military too, there will be some level of IGR, internally generated revenue, accruing to the military through its own efforts. Okay. An initiative on ground.
Well, there's so much and so much and so much to be done, but certainly you've given us a picture of the fact that the military is doing their best and they're trying their best, and Nigerians should have confidence in them. Sure.
That's it.
We have to leave it here right now. Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, security consultant. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.